Welcome back to Crime Scene 24/7. To our returning subscribers, thank you for always engaging. Your likes, comments, and shares keeps us motivated. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our chilling crime scenes. Here we dig deep, we investigate hard, and we bring you stories the mainstream left unsaid. So encourage us by engaging in our videos. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, and share. March 24th, 1998. A night that was supposed to be filled with laughter and ocean breezes turned into the darkest mystery in cruise history. That's the last time anyone saw Amy Lynn Bradley, age 23, alive. The next morning, her family woke to an empty balcony, no trace of her on the ship, and a trail of questions that led nowhere. Decades passed. The FBI kept the case open. The cruise line offered only limited explanations. Then in 2025, a Netflix documentary reignited interest and suddenly 3 new leads surfaced. A bartender claimed she shouted, "Señorita kidnapped! Señorita kidnapped!" on that fateful night. A suspicious hit on Amy's memorial website traced to a boat near Barbados, a possible child she may have had. Could Amy Bradley still be alive? Tonight, we go beyond the headlines and into the clues investigators hope will finally solve this 27-year mystery. The cruise set sail from San Juan, Puerto Rico on March 21, 1998. Amy Lynn Bradley, 23, boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas with her parents Ron and Iva and younger brother Brad. She had just graduated college, was about to begin a job in consulting, and had dreams she'd spoken of often. Over the next 2 nights, the ship glided across the Caribbean toward Curaçao. On March 23rd, Amy and Brad danced late into the night in the ship's nightclub. Alistair "Yellow" Douglas, a member of the band aboard, was one of the last people seen dancing with her. At 3:35 a.m., Brad swiped his keycard into the cabin. 5 minutes later, Amy entered as well. She and Brad sat on their balcony doing nothing more than talking, smoking, taking in the night air. By 5:15 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., their father Ron awoke and says he saw Amy lying on a lounge chair on their balcony, apparently asleep. The balcony door was reportedly closed at that time, but when Ron returned less than an hour later, she was gone. Her sandals, lighter, and cigarettes remained inside the cabin. The balcony door was now slightly ajar. No alarm was raised until she could not be found. 3 passengers claimed they saw Amy and Yellow together between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m. One even alleged she carried a camera. Yet when investigators followed up, those sightings could not be confirmed reliably. In the early wake of her disappearance, crew members searched cabins, decks, public areas. The ship paused operations and marine agencies were alerted. But despite sweeping scans and diver searches, no trace of Amy was found. Over the years, a multitude of theories sprang forth. Accidental fall, suicide, abduction, human trafficking. Some witnesses claimed to see her in Curaçao. Others said a Navy petty officer saw a woman claiming to be Amy in a brothel in 1999. None of these leads have been verified. In July 2025, the Netflix docu-series Amy Bradley is Missing renewed public interest and reportedly generated hundreds of tips. Among them, 3 leads are described as very significant by insiders. One new tip involves a bartender who allegedly shouted, "Señorita kidnapped, Señorita kidnapped," on the night Amy vanished, a claim not explored in the series. Another lead points to a suspicious website hit traced to a boat near Barbados, and a third suggests Amy may have had a child in secret. The brother, Brad Bradley, has since identified a previously unnamed third witness, Elizabeth, who says she saw Amy and Yellow leave the lounge, then watched a young woman run out yelling, "Señorita kidnap!" More than 2 decades later, the Bradley family still presses for answers. And what investigators discovered about the man behind the trigger stunned even veteran detectives. The first 24 hours after a disappearance at sea are everything. But for Amy Lynn Bradley, that critical window closed faster than anyone realized. When Ron and Iva Bradley couldn't find Amy on deck, they immediately reported her missing to the Rhapsody of the Seas crew. But rather than secure the ship and alert passengers, officials delayed any formal announcement. They insisted Amy had probably gone ashore early, even though the ship hadn't docked yet. The Bradleys begged the captain to keep passengers on board and search every room. But according to the family, it took over 8 hours before the crew performed even a partial sweep. By then, hundreds of passengers had freely disembarked in Curaçao, possibly including whoever knew what happened to Amy. In their later testimony, the Bradleys described a chilling moment when a ship photographer showed them several photos from the previous night. In one, Amy was dancing with the band member nicknamed Yellow. But when they asked for the negatives or digital copies, the images had reportedly vanished. Royal Caribbean issued a brief statement at the time. "We take the safety of our guests seriously and are cooperating fully with law enforcement." Yet no statement could explain the gaps: the missing footage, the unsearched cabins, and the unsealed decks. The FBI joined the case 24 hours later, but with international waters and multiple jurisdictions involved, evidence was already fading into the horizon. By day 2, a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter and a Dutch Caribbean patrol vessel searched over 600 square miles of open sea. Not a trace, no clothing, no body, no debris. Experts have said a fall from that height would likely leave floating evidence, but nothing surfaced. Theories swirled. Could she have jumped? Could she have been taken? Then came the first alleged sighting. A taxi driver in Curaçao claimed he saw a woman matching Amy's description, disoriented and asking for a phone. When shown Amy's photo later, he said, "Yes, that's her." But no one could find the woman again. Days later, another report emerged. A Navy petty officer claimed to have seen a woman in a Curaçao brothel whisper, "My name is Amy Bradley, please help me." But before he could react, 2 men took her away. Authorities dismissed it as unreliable, yet her family clung to hope. Years would pass, and still new photos, grainy and haunting, would resurface. One allegedly showing Amy alive in 2005, sitting on a bed wearing lingerie, eyes hollow. FBI analysts called it inconclusive, but to her parents, it was unmistakable. Then in 2025, a digital trace, a single image upload from the Caribbean, reignited everything. Almost 3 decades passed without resolution, until 2025. The Netflix docuseries Amy Bradley is Missing launched a public resurgence, and with it came hundreds of new tips from around the world. Among that flood of information, investigators and the Bradley family now identify 3 leads they call very significant. One of those leads came from a bartender aboard the cruise ship who claims she cried out, "Senorita kidnapped," moments after Amy vanished. Her voice, once ignored, is now under scrutiny. Though she was not included in the original documentary, sources say she is now being located and interviewed by investigators. A second clue emerges not from people, but from bits of code and movement logs. The official Amy Bradley missing person website, meant to keep her memory alive, was recently accessed from a device traced to a boat near Barbados. That hit, once buried in logs, has drawn fresh interest. Was it a random scan or a hidden check from someone connected to her disappearance? Then there is the most haunting lead, evidence suggesting Amy may have had a child, a theory previously only whispered. Family members and investigators are exploring whether a daughter or son could hold parts of her story. If true, that changes everything about what happened to her. Private investigators, backed by the family and fueled by the public interest stirred by the Netflix series, have deployed operations in Curaçao and neighboring Caribbean islands. They are retracing old rumors, interviewing witnesses, and revisiting doc records. Even the FBI, still holding the case open, is coordinating across jurisdictions to verify which leads are viable. One investigator recounts a moment when a GPS log placed a small vessel near the route of the Rhapsody of the Seas the night Amy disappeared. That vessel's logs had been off the radar, officially unregistered, untraced. Could it be the same ship that later pinged the missing person website hit near Barbados? Meanwhile, digital forensics teams are analyzing Henry Yellow Douglas's phone records again, the band member last seen dancing with Amy. Old photo negatives once claimed missing are being re-examined with newer image enhancement tools, tech unavailable at the time. There is talk among insiders of a previously unknown third witness, referred to only by the initial E, whose memory may shed new light. Yet each lead threatens to open a new door of questions. The bartender's shout may reopen doubts about who was in the ship's corridors. The Barbados server hit might connect to someone monitoring the case all these years. The child theory forces speculation about hidden family records, far-flung movements, and silent adoption systems. Even after all these years, the evidence is not clear. But what is clear is that Amy Bradley's story is far from closed, and the 2025 breakthroughs may be the key to bringing her home. Over the years, dozens of names have surfaced. But with the 2025 leads now shining a new light, one suspect has returned to focus. Alistair "Yellow" Douglas, a band member aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas. He was among the last seen dancing with Amy the night she disappeared. Some witnesses claimed he walked off with her, but his account has always been inconsistent. The Bradleys and private investigators are now demanding new interviews and access to his communications. Then there is the bartender who allegedly screamed, "Señorita kidnapped." That cry, once dismissed, now casts suspicion on the possibility of coordinated abduction. Investigators are combing ship logs, interviewing crew members anew, seeking to confirm her presence and what she meant. Another person of interest, a mysterious figure captured in an enhanced photograph from the cruise's surveillance system. The image was once too blurry to identify, but with upgraded AI tools, forensic analysts have zoomed, sharpened, and analyzed that figure. Preliminary comparison suggests the person might match an individual connected to Caribbean trafficking rings. Investigators are now attempting to match that face with known traffickers operating around Curaçao in the late 1990s. Theory after theory emerges. One posits that Amy was targeted by traffickers who saw a young woman alone on deck as an opportunity. Another theory suggests she may have been taken off the ship, transported to a small vessel, then to islands in the Caribbean, possibly Barbados or Trinidad. The hit to her missing persons website from a device near Barbados now gains chilling significance in that theory. Some propose she was trafficked for a child, explaining later alleged sightings of her with a young girl. Others believe she may still be alive, hidden, perhaps under a new identity. The family's hope fuels every investigation and theory. Skeptics argue the new leads are speculative. They warn the evidence is circumstantial and decades old. They caution against confirmation bias, that people see what they want to see. But for the Bradleys and a growing contingent of investigators, these connections may offer the first real path forward. Whether Douglas, the bartender, or the unknown face from the surveillance image holds the key, the threads are more tangled now than ever. One thing is certain, this is no longer a cold case. The renewed scrutiny, fresh evidence, and modern tools mean that Amy Bradley's disappearance may finally yield its secret. By mid-2025, the case of Amy Lynn Bradley had captured global attention again. The Netflix docuseries Amy Bradley is Missing made waves, not just for reviving her story, but for generating a flood of leads investigators couldn't ignore. Suddenly, what had long been dismissed as a cold case was becoming active again. In the wake of renewed interest, the Bradley family began working with private investigators, deploying resources in Curaçao and nearby islands to test every tip, visit old docs, re-interview witnesses, and check archival marine logs. One lead involved a bartender who claimed to have shouted, "Señorita kidnapped," on the night Amy vanished, a detail left out of earlier investigations. Now, officials are trying to track her down, validate her statement, and place her on the timeline. Another pivotal discovery came from the digital realm. The missing person website dedicated to Amy's memory, monitored for signs she might one day return, registered a suspicious hit traced to a device aboard a boat near Barbados. Investigators believe it may signal that someone connected to her disappearance has been checking status updates, monitoring the case, or even returning to the area. Then there is the possibility of a child. In 2025, sources told People and The Hollywood Reporter that there is new evidence suggesting Amy may have had a child during her disappearance period, a line of inquiry the original FBI investigation did not fully pursue. If true, such evidence could reshape nearly every previous assumption about where she went and who may have helped her. For decades, Alistair "Yellow" Douglas has been the name most frequently tied to Amy's disappearance. He was a band member aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas, seen dancing with Amy the night before she vanished. He voluntarily took a polygraph and was questioned by the FBI but was never charged. In the wake of the 2025 revival, the Bradley family is pushing for renewed scrutiny of his alibis, communications, and whereabouts that morning. But the family is also pressing beyond yellow. Newly surfaced documents show that 3 witnesses believe they saw Amy and Douglas leave the lounge between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m. on the morning of her disappearance, moving toward what may have been a deck or exit point. One such witness named E has recently come forward, claiming that after 20-plus years memory has sharpened and that she saw a taller, unidentified figure intercept them. Investigators are now interviewing her as a possible third witness whose testimony could shift the timeline again. As these leads pile up, public reaction has been intense. Media coverage is now casting critical light on the original FBI handling of the case. The Bradley family's supporters accuse authorities of ignoring basic investigative steps, of losing or suppressing key photographs, and of failing to coordinate with Curaçao and Caribbean jurisdictions. In interviews, Brad Bradley has urged transparency, saying that the case was mismanaged from the start. Rallies and public appeals have erupted. Social media campaigns demand declassification of files, and new statements from cruise line representatives call for cooperation with law enforcement. The cruise line has stated they are cooperating with investigations, but critics argue the company's earlier indifference contributed to lost evidence. Through it all, the FBI maintains the case is open. A reward of up to $25,000 remains active for information leading to Amy's recovery or to identify responsible parties. That reward is a beacon of hope for those who believe Amy may still be alive, or that someone out there holds a key. Even after 27 years, Amy Lynn Bradley's disappearance refuses to fade into history. What began as an unsolved case aboard a Caribbean cruise ship has become a symbol of the limits of justice, the power of memory, and a family's relentless hope. From the moment she vanished, her sandals by the cabin door, her shirt and lighter left behind, to the decades of whispered sightings in Curaçao, Barbados, Trinidad, and even on social media image boards, her story has endured. The original investigation was thwarted by jurisdictional confusion, missing negatives, reluctant cooperation, and incomplete forensic tools of the 1990s. Many believed the trail was cold and the oceans too vast, yet the 2025 revival changed the narrative. New tips, renewed scrutiny, modern forensics, and previously dismissed voices have reopened doors once thought sealed. We've traveled through time tonight. We saw the moments leading to Amy's disappearance, the initial frantic search, the gaps in the investigation, and the possible clues now resurfacing. We met Yellow, the band member long tied to suspicion, and we heard the bartender's cry of "Señorita kidnapped," that may give voice to the unseen moment when her fate shifted. We traced the curious digital echo emanating from Barbados. We entertained the possibility she might have had a child, hidden from view. And we listened as a new witness, long silent, steps forward. Each lead carries promise, and each carries danger. The bartender's remark demands verification. The website hit near Barbados could be mere coincidence, or attract return. The child hypothesis needs medical and legal backing. The fate of E, the unknown witness, must survive cross-examination. And Douglas, once tested and cleared, must now answer under a sharper lens. If Amy Bradley still lives somewhere, isolated, under another identity, if traffickers passed through lesser-known channels and disguised her path, if the person tracking her case from a boat in Barbados was more than a casual observer, then justice is more complicated than we ever believed. What does this all mean for us? The viewers, the seekers, the believers? It means that when a life is taken, or taken away, the ripples last far longer than the moment. It means that technology and renewed public interest can turn what once was cold into urgency. It means that someone, somewhere, may still hold the piece that fits the puzzle. To the Bradley family, Ron, Iva, and Brad, your tragedy has become a beacon. The world watches, the pressure mounts, and the search continues. The scars you carry are deep. Your strength is testament to a mother's love and a brother's loyalty. So we return to the question that binds this story. Could Amy Bradley still be alive? Or is she already gone, her memory eclipsed by the ocean, by time, by silence? Or maybe, just maybe, she waits somewhere in the shadows, by whisper, by trace, by hope. Now I turn this to you, the audience. Do you believe Amy Bradley is still living under another name? Or was she taken that night forever? Do you trust the lead's truth? Or suspect some are diversionary? Comment your theory below. I read every single one. If you want more deep true crime cases, ones the news moves past too soon, subscribe to Crime Scene 24/7. Turn on that bell so you don't miss the revelations we're uncovering. Because here, the truth never sleeps.